So, welcome Pragyna for yet another episode of the People, Passion, and Purpose podcast. So, it's a long form podcast. We have time. You can share about whatever is happening with your life. And maybe, I think this time I'm going to be introducing a little bit more. So, I met Pragyna through a peer coaching community. So, she's also a coach. And that's how I met her. And then our conversations have been about a lot of things. It's been about books, it's been about Toastmasters, it's been about our shared history with Banshankari and her adventures around BNMIT in here. So I've seen some of the amazing things that she's got to do. And now she's also an author of an amazing book around workplace productivity and workplace for people. So it's called Ace at Work. So if you've seen the cards, that ace that you see, that's how the symbol is. So I am very happy to have another author on my podcast, Pragyna. So thanks for coming on board.
Hi, Sunil. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to have conversation with you in this forum, nonetheless.
Absolutely. So would you like to show us our book? What is the book about? How are things with it?
Yeah, this is the book. It's finally in hand. Yeah.
Ace at Work. So fantastic. So
Yeah.
would you like to tell me a little bit about the book?
So this book, like the title, is pretty straightforward, and you also mentioned it is about workplace productivity. The book explores ideas of nitty-gritties of career growth and fulfillment. Now, the idea behind this book is what I would like to share is I myself had this, and I believe other people around us also have it, is we have a very toxic relationship with our work. Like we have all come up in a society where we go to school, we go to college, we get a job, we work, and that's life. And it has been the same for me. So I go to work, I do my work, I do well, and I felt like I'm doing well, I'm succeeding. But it wasn't until that I left my job that I realized how unintentional I was about my entire career. And when I'm realizing this about myself, I also see other people around me who are making similar kind of mistakes, if I can call it that. And these have been learnings for me. And this book is all about a collection of these kind of learnings about things that I have done well in my career, things that I have not necessarily done so well or I could have done differently, and things that I've observed with my colleagues and with my clients who come to me with their workplace challenges. So it's all about, it's not just go to work, do your work. It's not about follow your passion. Definitely not that. It's about finding passion in what you do. And how do you actually succeed in doing that?
So fantastic. So I'd explore that book as well and, have a read. But who is this book for?
So this book or any work that I do is definitely for mid-career professionals who seem to find themselves in a job for, say, around 5 years, and they say, okay, I don't have any more growth here and I want to switch companies. Right? So I feel that is very, very limited thinking in what we do, because once you're in a company for 5 years, you have enough footing to actually grow there. If you feel you're stagnant, then it is a time to relook. Without this reflection, if you jump your job, you're going to be in that next job for 5 years and you'll find yourself again in the same position saying, okay, I need to quit because I don't have any more growth. So growth is not internal to the job. It doesn't mean if you're in a company for 5 years, you will grow in the company. But it's about realizing that the growth is something in the way we do our work. It's not about the time you've spent in the company or not about the kind of company you're in.
Fantastic. So what inspired you to write this book? I'm still at the book, but I'll come to other aspects of life a little soon. But the book looks fascinating.
So what inspired me to write the book is, one, a fellow author. So I had the privilege to be at a speakers boot camp in Puri, which was conducted under the banner of Professional Speakers Association of India. So while I was there, I got to spend 3 days with amazing speakers, authors, thought leaders in the industry who are professional speakers and people who I look up to and who have been my mentors. And I got a signed copy of one of the uh, authors and participants of that boot camp, and he has been my inspiration to start writing this book, because he signed in his book saying, Peggy, I love your energy and I hope to buy your book someday. Until then, I kind of never took the idea seriously that I can write a book.
Mm.
But when he signed that for me and gave me, I was like, is that even a possibility? So that's where the seed started. And yeah, that was my inspiration.
I think all interesting journeys begins with somewhere somebody else trusting us with saying, yeah, you can do it, and then we ask ourselves, like, can we actually do it? And that's when the
Exactly.
journey begins. So yeah, I think for me also, I had one person share that saying, whatever you're writing is fantastic. And I think he quit writing, or he's not writing poetry anymore, while I continue to write. So he says now I am better than him, and that was the best compliment. I'm saying, okay, if you say the same thing, then I'm like, okay, fantastic. Like all this journey is been worth it. Mm. And you were
I
talking
get
about a mentor and stuff. So if someone were to seek a mentor, what should they look at?
Okay, so first off, a mentor, we need to understand, is not somebody who's going to spoon feed you.
Mm.
A mentor is someone who has done what you want to do or you aspire to do or even want to explore for that matter. So this is not somebody who is a teacher or who needs to know you really well. They just have to have walked the path that you want to go on. Number one. Number two, you should like that person. That's very important. Now, there can be multiple people who have done it. For instance, if you want to write a book, there are millions of people who have written books, right? Not everybody can be your mentor. But who is that person who connects with you more on a personal level? As in, I know this person is genuine. I know this person, will help or will guide correctly. And we need to, of course, trust in any relationship. I think that's very important. You need to be able to have that trust and that respect for that mentor. I think these qualities are something that a mentor has to take off.
Absolutely. And I think, you'll have to like the person, and that's when, things will move. And that's where chemistry becomes so fascinatingly interesting. So this just, like an offshoot question. So what is your favorite subject while you were studying?
While I was studying, to be honest, I liked studying as a concept. I wouldn't say I enjoyed any particular subject. I studied, yeah.
You studied. So any adventures that you would like to tell us? And maybe even, we start with how did this Peggy come about?
Okay, so my name is Pragyna Venigalla. So in Toastmasters, we give something called as an icebreaker speech.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where you have to introduce yourself. So in that speech, I actually started my speech once with I took a spoon and I dropped it on the floor. And I heard this somewhere that no offense or please don't quote me anywhere, but I heard this that Chinese people name their kids by dropping a silver spoon, and the sound that it makes is what the name is. So that was something that was funny and it stuck with me, and I kind of played with that. And I said, I think my father dropped a spoon and it made the sound Pragya. He named me Pragya. And I always thought, did my father hate me or something because he gave me such a complicated name, which people can't pronounce or remember? It's not a very easily recallable name. So people have butchered my name left and right in all languages and accents. So I think just a common simple thing is Peggy. My sister used to call me Peggy when I was a kid. I think that just stuck. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So that's how it is. So there's usually an etymology behind every pet name or every name that comes along. So I was curious about it. Mm.
Just my sister and cousins when I was younger, they would call me Peggy.
No, the spoon story was very interesting. Yeah. So we may have to
True
have
though.
somebody from China collaborate saying, is that how they do it?
Is that true? Yeah. I would like to validate that also.
Oh, amazing. So, yeah, like you brought about that space of, childhood, you brought about that space around Toastmasters. Which one would you like to, tackle first?
I think my childhood is very short and sweet. I had been a very, peppy little girl brought up in a lovely neighborhood. I don't have too much memories of it as, vague pictures, of course, but my parents tell me that we used to live, I know where we used to live in a colony. And I used to just go to random people's houses, and that's how I was. Even if I know them or not, I would go. My sister would come on the road and shout, "Peggy, Peggy!" Like, where are you? And somebody would come out and say, "Hey, she's in our house." So that That's how my childhood had been. So I've always been very outgoing, very bubbly, and had a very happy childhood. Yeah.
Oh, wow, fantastic. I think once upon a time I was actually lost like this in terms of I was at somebody's house watching a cricket match while the rest of the people were hunting for me, and I didn't know that they were hunting for me. So that was one of the stories of my like that's also published in the book is around this space. Yeah. So and I have a lot of people who collaborate with these stories, saying this is one of my stories where I was lost.
Oh,
And
I'm sure all of us have been lost, not just as children, even as adults.
that's so if people are lost in the workplace, they can always look at Ace at work. So
Yes.
always do a plugin. So always do a plugin is what I've been taught. And how did this space of getting into Toastmasters, or even getting into public speaking? Because I see that public speaking, I've been told, is one of the like the premier fear. If I can put it that way.
I think from my schooling, I've been into public speaking, and I have a very strong memory of one particular instance, which kind of gives me the confidence to speak also. So we used to have this pick and speak competitions at school, right? So basically, you pick a chit, and whatever is written on it, you need to speak about it. I still remember, I think I was in ninth standard or eighth standard at that time. And I picked up a chit and I stood on the stage and I looked up and nobody was actually listening. Like people were chit chatting or whatever, and nobody was even looking at me. So I don't know what happened in the moment, but I just shouted, "Good morning, everybody," like really loudly. Everybody startled and I had all their attention. And my topic was Charlie Chaplin is a serious topic. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke beautifully about it. I don't know where these ideas came from or thoughts came from in that moment, but I did. And I loved the euphoria of, oh my God, the thoughts just flew into my mind. And I have noticed this time and time again. Every time I'm on the stage, I seem to lose myself. I seem to, literally not be in my physical being where words are coming, thoughts are coming, but I am surprised at how did I connect these 2 points and say this in that moment. So I think it's just the feeling of that euphoria that sticks with me since I'm on stage, and that's why I love it. And it was, I think, in my first job where Toastmasters came into my life. That's when I knew, okay, Toastmasters is a thing and it existed. It was a corporate event. So there's something called a Speechcraft program, which is like a 5 weeks program. It's like a mini Toastmasters
Mm-hmm.
session. So the HR or somebody in the company had organized that, and I joined it at that point. And of course, I joined it with my friends. We thought it'll be a cool time pass at work, and we can skip, some meetings. And we did join it, and I loved it, obviously. And since then, I have been wanting to join a club, but I just never. It just didn't happen. When I got married, came to Dubai, I knew it was a new place, new city. I did not know anybody except my husband. So I was like, okay, I need some friends. So I just looked for Toastmasters. I found one very close to my house and I went and I joined that day. Yeah.
Mm. So how's
And
been
that was
the experience?
7 years ago. Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh, that was seven and a half years ago. Yeah.
7.5 years ago. So you've been part of the Toastmaster space for 7.5 years.
Yes.
So how's that experience? Maybe for those who may have never had an experience of either visiting a session or being a part of it.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Okay. So in one word, Toastmasters is life changing. Okay, that's 2 words, but yeah, life changing. So I think Toastmasters, for those who have never heard about it, is a community where people come together to build their public speaking and leadership skills. It's as simple as that. But what do they do in the sessions? They come prepared with some speeches. They come speak impromptu. They get evaluated. They have various roles that they participate in the club, and they actually have a formal meeting with specific rules and guidelines and everything given to them. And it's a very participative experiential program, so where people come voluntarily and it's a lot of fun.
Mm. I think that is for sure in terms of what happens in a conversation, and specifically around, say, session by session, how you move. I have seen a lot of people change. My only problem was that I was irritated by the number of times somebody said, "Sunil, you've said so many R's in the in the conversation," and that is the only thing that irritated me about it. Other than that, I was like, "Oh, fascinated."
Yeah, actually, the R counter is a role that somebody plays where they count the number of filler words we use, the R's, the ums. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you mean.
I think that would be a job that I'd be horrible at. Even if I read your book, I'd still be horrible at that aspect. But you were sharing, I think one thing that really fascinated me was that you said when you are doing a public speaking, it's not Pragna that's speaking. There's something else. There's a different level of flow. How is that? Would you like to describe that a little in detail? I think that was something that fascinated me.
So I think that's something I don't fully understand myself at the moment, but having read books about the flow state and understanding how our brain functions, how our body functions, it's more about you being in a situation which is slightly challenging but not overwhelming for you.
Mm.
Uh, and at that moment, you are in a state where your mind is actually functioning fully, and it there is a challenge which you want to overcome, and you're in that state, and your brain actually connects. The neurons actually click
Mm.
across your brain, and then you get into this flow of ideas just start coming to you. Yeah, so I think neuroscientifically that's what happens when I'm there, because I enjoy speaking and I'm there. And public speaking, no matter what people say, even if the best speakers of the world, I'm sure they'll tell you it is scary. There are always going to be those butterflies in your stomach, and you're going to be nervous, and your heart is going to beat fast, your palms are going to get sweaty. It's just that we learn how to control that a little bit. And yeah, when you actually see it as a fun challenge, you want to do it.
Yeah, I think the people who have figured out public speaking will look at it as a fun challenge. People
Yeah,
who are
that's true.
yet
That's
to
true.
figure it out, and they'd have a very separate space, And for me, I was somebody who was like first time I was in front of a mic, I think I was shivering, and I think now people will shiver when I am on the mic.
That's
So
funny. So
I think
I'm not disregarding the fear. I mean, it is one of the highest fears
yeah.
people have across the world. Public speaking is not easy, and it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of courage. Yeah.
Amazing. No, I think so. You've been part of Super Speaker contest, if I get the name right. So you're among one of those very strongly qualified in terms of different rounds of public speaking. So how does that work in terms of what in terms of your passion, in terms of how that happened?
So Super Speaker is a journey which Success Gyan conducts. So it's an annual. It's kind of a reality show to find the best motivational speakers of the country. So it's different rounds of filtering. They give you different tasks and challenges to perform, and you speak, record videos, upload. Different kind of things happen. Yes, I was actually very excited when I made it through some of the filtering rounds and I went into the highest. I think I last round in season 3, I was in the Super 500 of the country. So I think that itself was a big achievement for me. I did not take it beyond that, but it's okay. I think the learning experience was what mattered. There is a lot I still need to improve on, and I totally understand that. And I think that's something that I would love to work on, and I am continuously working on as well. But Super Speaker happened because of Instagram. Somebody I was following very casually in the season 1, he actually gotten filtered into these rounds, and then
Mhm.
that's when I saw him like, oh, best motivational speaker of the country. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. Like, how does that work? And I actually pinged him asking about it, and then he said, oh, this is super speaker and stuff like that. So the next round when it happened, I actually applied, and it's funny that I actually applied literally 2 minutes before the deadline, because I was so unsure. I'm like, am I good enough to, I know I can speak, but am I good enough to participate in contests, and especially contests that are going to determine the best motivational speaker of the country? So I thought that was a huge thing, and I hesitated so much to record it. But yeah, literally the last 2 minutes, I submitted my application.
Yeah, I think any place where we're questioning ourselves, somewhere beyond that is actually the place we actually have growth. So, am I good enough is usually a lot of. I think everybody goes through that phase, and only after. So my mantra is you. If you try, you find out that you're not good enough. That's
Exactly.
always. Good for you to progress. So you know that you're not there. Then you know, okay, how much you have to move. Do you really want to see that happen? Is that really your place of work, or is it's just a hobby versus a passion versus a work? But if you pass and you pass better than, like pass with all the rainbow colors, flying colors, whatever, then, the world cannot be stopped. You're an unstoppable force. So a choice between
Totally.
finding out you're not good enough versus finding out you're way better than good enough already. Uh,
Absolutely.
so,
And
yeah.
I think something you said, which is very powerful, is actually lets you know what your motivation really is.
Mm,
That's so
absolutely.
true because we tend to start things, do things because somebody else told us or because something happened or somebody pushed us into this.
Mm,
But if you're not in it because you want to be in it, you will not succeed no
exactly.
matter what happens. Yeah.
I think there are some parallel stories around that in terms of my passion towards writing came very early. Then I got into the engineering works. And engineering, I think I went through engineering, not bad. I had good marks. I knew the concept. But somewhere my heart was not inside that place. I loved solving challenges. After solving challenges, I'm like, if you had asked me to write an exam, I'd grudgingly write it, get decent marks. But I don't think my space was there. It took me around 8 years to transition out and then get into coaching. And that segue is perfect for what made you transition out of, say, your career into coaching, into all that you do now.
Absolutely. That's exactly a parallel. Same thing here as well. Engineering happened, job happened, all of that happened. And then yeah, I think it took me 10 years to, make that transition. But yes. The segue for me was motherhood. That was where it was like a question mark. And Sheryl Sandberg's words from Lean In book would keep echoing, saying, if you have to leave a kid and go to a work, the work better be worth it. So
Mhm.
that entire quote or the lines hit me the moment I had to actually leave my month's baby in a daycare and go to work. And then I was really questioning myself, saying, is it worth it? Is this job really what I want to do? And when the answer was a resounding no, that's when I was like, yeah, okay, I'm quitting. It wasn't an easy decision, of course, for somebody like me who has been associated with work. And so, this is how we most of us are, right, Sunil? So when we say, okay, tell me about yourself, the first thing we talk about is our work.
Where am I working?
Where am I working? It's either your job title or your company or or what you do, but it's always about work. So that's how much we all are tied up to it, but we don't see how much it impacts us.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And easy average, you spend 60% of your adult work at office.
Absolutely, even
And
more than that.
general average, I think 60 is a bare minimum. I think your lower threshold is 60. So if you're CEO, CFO, CTOs, then I think, yeah, 4 hours, 5 hours sleeps, and then then the headlines will be seen that somebody is not well because they push their bodies to such a large extent. And also, like kudos to you taking that decision, saying what's worth it, and your office work be worth it. I think that's something that I think everybody should look at, irrespective of possibly parenthood or anything else. Because we've been programmed to look at say something for the body and the soul, and something for the heart, something for the mind. So there's so much of like siloing that there's we don't even look at one thing that actually solves whatever is good for the stomach, good for the heart, good for the mind, good for the hand, and good for the body. So we don't look at something like that. And once something like that happens, the entirety of your body, entirety of everything is at synergy. And that's a different feeling. I hope you have similar experiences. If not, then also I'd like to hear.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I know you have been in this transition too, and you have also made that decision to, switch careers and move. And it's not easy, is it? It's a lot of, resistance, not just from ourselves internally, but also from people around saying, are you sure you want to do that? There's a lot of judgments and questions that pop up by other people. But most of that happens internally. More than what other people say, it's about what you say to yourself when you make such decisions. That's what matters. And for me, throughout, and I have found that, moving from a fixed job, like, a steady job into something like solopreneurship or entrepreneurship, the transition is hardest because suddenly you are like, oh, there's no boss in my head who is going to, come and say, okay, there's a
Ask
deadline
for
today.
figures.
Because now you set your deadlines, you do your work, you are accountable for what you say. It's all you. So
Yeah.
I think this journey of entrepreneurship, I'm not saying it's easy or everybody should do it. I think everybody should definitely not do it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I even till today I have that feeling, I'm much better off doing a job because it's honestly easier even if it's a hard job than trying to run a business or something of that sort. But it's an entirely different experience, and I feel we should not even compare it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think because everything is we are accountable for ourselves. There's no 10 o'clock stand-up meeting that
Exactly.
you have to get to. And sometimes that becomes entirety of the problem itself. It's a new problem because you have phone, like all of us, most of the work happens on the phone, happens on the laptop. Netflix, whatever, the entirety of the time guzzlers are with us, Insta, Facebook, whatever.
That's it.
And suddenly, blink and it's already 2 o'clock. That would have not happened in that office.
Correct. And
That's
that's very
really
true.
bad.
So everything is different. So I think it's a test of who you really are, test of your discipline, your thoughts, your beliefs. And it's a very hard test.
Yeah. And if you enjoy that test, I think it becomes easy. That's
Mhm.
the entirety of it. And like as much as there is glamour, I don't think there's glamour.
Yep. True. The
Yeah.
entire thing, follow your passion.
Oh,
It's more
follow
important.
passion.
I think it's very overrated.
And the thing is, maybe it's not. We don't tell our stories because I think that's the space. So we don't tell our stories on when nothing's working. We don't tell our stories on how we had to pivot, we had to prioritize, we had to let go of certain aspects for a larger purpose, a smaller gain. So that is something. And if I had to maybe ask this question, so what would Peggy do on days when things are down, when the chips are down?
Okay, so the chips are down. Then Peggy is usually sitting with chocolate on the couch, binge watching Netflix. That's usually what happens. But I've come to understand that that is okay
Mm.
because we need those down times. We need that the feeling of I'm stuck. I don't know what to do, or you know, and even more the feeling of I don't have money right now.
Mm.
I think, yeah, talking about touching on money, I think it's a huge aspect between a work and entrepreneurship. I think that's the biggest hit that happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, in those days, it just happens. In those days, you get all these thoughts of, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And, I go through that spiral every single time. And then at one point, it's just about, okay, fine, let the spiral happen. And you can't go any further down, right? So
Yeah.
that's when you will bounce back up there.
Yeah, you
It's just
acknowledge.
about giving yourself that space, I guess.
Absolutely. You acknowledge the whatever is happening, and then you let go of that. Somewhere we are like, oh, this is happening to us, and uh, I think we're blessed in at least both of us in terms of knowing that we are coaches. So sometimes the coaching mindset works with us, and then we're able to move forward. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think
Ask yourself the coaching questions, absolutely.
yeah,
How
I
do you
think
feel
coaching
about that?
will also get us into it. So what makes it important for you to sit down today and mull over this entire aspect? So yeah, and also maybe I've asked you about what happens on dark days. How's the the feeling when you're really excited about work, we're excited about the impact that you're able to create through coaching.
Oh, so I think those great days happen when I hear from a client or somebody I have trained or something. They come back with a testimonial or a feedback about, oh, this is what happened after your training. I think that high that you get after that, that is phenomenal. I once had given a speech. It was about productivity. It was very simple topics, nothing out of the world in my universe, but uh, one of the audience members, and I had an opportunity to go back a year later for another training with the same people. And I was in a one-on-one coaching setting with one of the participants, and she actually told me that, you know what, 1 year ago I attended your session, and this stuck with me, and I did this in my house, and it's amazing how much has changed in my. I'm like, wow, somebody remembered something that you said 1 year ago, and that gives me motivation to keep going. I'm like, okay, that's the kind of impact we can actually create, and it
Absolutely.
feels amazing.
Feels amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, like through this podcast, whoever is listening, so in case you have had somebody inspire you, with something that they've shared, something that they've done, something that they've enabled you with, I think, today's 29th Feb that we're recording it. So once in 4 years, so you can always, let them know that they've actually done something that has made a difference to you. Because sometimes that's something that can amplify and catapult their presence to more and more people. And yeah, I think that would be a good place for us to, like look at this podcast. We've gone close to 35 plus minutes. So and for you, I think for somebody who's a public speaker, 35 is almost the beginning. So we're not even started on the podcast. Yeah. So is there a question you wanted me to ask you that you wanted to have to share?
Not a question, but I would just want to follow up on the statement that you just said. It's so important for us to acknowledge our wins and be grateful for the people who have played a role in it. And I think I am somebody who had not been doing that. And if I win, I would be like, yeah, okay, fine, it's okay. That's it. And no, I just got lucky. Or we tell ourselves these 100 things that we actually don't own up to our accomplishments. That's somebody who I was. I would do that a lot. But then I started realizing that every win, no matter how small or big it is, there are a lot of people around you who have had something to do with it, and we need to reach out to them, go back to them saying, hey, you inspired me, hey, thank you for just pushing me, or thank you for saying the right thing at the right time, or whatever it is. And I think it makes us more human, it makes us more connected, and I just wish more people did that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, just so that I let you know, there's something like that I'm planning, hopefully soon, uh, beginning of March, that enables people to say thank you and acknowledge transformations that has happened because of whatever acts of kindness. I'm planning something like that. Hopefully, it gets amplified and gets big. Not for my own purposes, but for making the world a kinder place.
Amazing. Another of Pungi Dasa's sessions, and I'm looking forward to that very.
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks, Peggy. Thanks for your time today. And I'll be always happy to do another podcast whenever you write another book, whenever you write, whenever you have more stories to share. I think this platform with you would be absolutely open, and I'd be happy to host you again and again.
It's my pleasure entirely. And our conversations, no matter where, I think have always been enriching and fun.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes. Yeah, time
thank you
went
for that.
close. Last conversation, I think, went for 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just wanted to meet for a coffee, and yeah, I
And
think it
yeah,
became dinner after.
then fantastic then. So thank you. See you then. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Sunil. Take care.